I think we're on. Are we on? Evening, everybody. Good evening. We're coming through with a jam. I don't know if you guys can hear the jam in the background, but that's just us. Anyone that knows us isn't us if we're not coming through with a jam. Welcome, everybody, to another TGW Friday. It's a TGW Friday, so you guys already know we've got something in store for you guys, and it's going to be an amazing, amazing evening. Thank you for everybody that is tuning in. I'm just wanting to check if we are... Okay. Thank you so much to everyone that's tuning in. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the evening. I'm so excited for the information that's going to be imparted today. So excited for our guest today. So I can see we're already 3 minutes into our live. I'm not even going to take too much of our time. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm sure you guys can see at the bottom of the screen. And I'm just your host for today. I'm just here to just keep the conversation flowing, really. Don't mind me. But please do mind our wonderful guest that's going to be coming on Namhlanje. She is amazing, amazing. In fact, I'm going to read you guys her bio. And then Sizombiza Eze after that. Please take some time and just listen. Listen. It's not long. We don't have a long bio of her. If we went the long route, we'd be here the whole night. But just take some time and listen to this inspirational woman and her achievements and just everything that she's done with her life, you know, in her young life. So I'm just going to read us her bio quickly and get to it. So Usihle is a two-time master's holder from the University of Cape Town and Peking University in Beijing. She is a PhD candidate at the University of Pretoria and co-author of best-selling children's book, Wanda. In 2021, she is the author for Nali Bali's World Read Aloud Day story, Fly Everyone, a story to be read to 3 million children in South Africa. Usihle is a storyteller at heart, a firm believer in the transformative power of education. Sihle is an education practitioner at the University of Pretoria through reducing barriers to academic success. Her interest in schools and people stems from her lived experience. Her studies have spanned 12 schoolings have spanned across 12 schools, including KU Leuven in Belgium. It is this vast world experience adapting to varying structures, school norms, and people that Sihle writes stories with Black-centric narratives. So without any further ado, can we please see this amazing, amazing woman? We have her in the background. If you don't see my face, don't worry. I'm here. You're going to see me just now. We have her right here in the background, and she's going to come on and speak to us briefly about her education journey. And actually, let me not give it away. She's here. She's going to be speaking to us. And Sihle? Oh yay!
Hello. 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 Hi, I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'll say
Oh, it goes. I was enjoying. I hosted. I was hosted.
Oh no. Today's about you guys. It's about you and that we're speaking to. Sihle, we are so glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us, really, first and foremost. We don't take your time for granted. Sikubonile ubhizi kule veki, so we really not taking your time for granted. Basically, sikubamba ku-morning live, phinde sithi express.
Yeah, sure, girl.
We count ourselves as blessed. We really do. So let's get to it. Your education journey, Sihle, what an interesting one. I was watching your lives earlier on today, and you were just going down memory lane, giving us a few of your stories. What a journey you had.
It has been a journey. And I think
Right.
knowing that I was going to be speaking to you, TGW, tonight, had me thinking so much about it. And just I think just having the opportunity to even reflect about it is really both interesting and provoking to me too. So I'm hoping that I can share more of that with you all tonight.
Thank you so much. So please just take us through that journey before anything. Just for the benefit of people that don't know you, and maybe Abantu that have not had, that little peek into your
my education journey. So as I was actually thinking about it today, I feel like my education journey is almost like a success experiment. Does that sound okay, Izzy?
It is now.
Okay, great. I feel like my education journey is quite like a success experiment that my parents kind of tested out. So when I was 6 in 1996, that was the same time that the South African Schools Act was enacted in South Africa, and that meant that Black children could now legally be in formally white schools. And we were in a small town called Ekotundaba at the time. And my dad was pressed about how his kids would go to white schools, right? So, and I mean, at the time, given the history of Bantu education, we didn't necessarily have access to those kinds of schools. Is it okay? Okay, great. So we didn't have access to those kinds of schools. And so he was pressed. He was like, my kids are going to be doctors, they're going to be lawyers, and I'm going to take this one who now has this chance to a formally Model C school. And so I left home at the age of 6 and I went to live in hostel, Ekomani. And that was Get Ahead. That was the name of the school at the time. And at the time, it had already been in a kind of like almost like a private kind of preschool called Tiny Tots. And every time I'd come back from school, I always have these English words that nobody knew about. So I'd say, Disha, so and so they spit saliva on the floor, and people would be like, saliva, where did you get this much saliva? I said, just like this joy of having these words that other people don't have. Don't ask me where I was getting them, but I was now pressed on like getting more of them. And between that time, 1996 up until 2021 now, I've been to over 12 different schools, journeying, especially in my primary school years, where we were constantly trying to find good schools, right? At the time, parents, all they wanted is to be able to make sure that you would have a kind of opportunity that would give you the right lifestyle or the right employment opportunities in the future. So I finished high school at Kingsbridge Girls High here in King Williamstown, and from there onwards, I went to the University of Cape Town. At the time at KHS, certain people went to UCT, right? So you didn't necessarily say you wanted to apply to UCT, so you didn't tell your peers, but you kind of knew in your heart, like, UCT, you know? So I remember like applying on the side, and people would be like, where are you going? But you just don't want to say it because you don't know, right? Like, and at the time it seemed like it was more meek or humble to not say what you really wanted, and that was the right kind of posture. And so I remember applying to UCT, and one of my friends' mother said to me, UCT is one of the best in South Africa, so apply so that you can measure yourself competitively across the country and see how well you will fare. And so that's what UCT was to me. It was kind of just seeing like whether I can make. And I remember my next door neighbor at the time, he was very confident. So he'd be like, I will one day employ you.
Sorry to cut you there. I think I'm just seeing comments up his hands now. I think there's a sound, a sound issue that we have. Could you perhaps maybe not use earphones, Kanya? They're far from you.
I should use earphones? Is that what you're asking?
We can try earphones. I think the sound.
Okay.
It's when you speak. So it could be a what you call this a speaker issue.
I'm not sure. Let me go get my earphones and see if that will make a difference.
Okay. Sure. Okay, everyone. So sorry about that. We're just going to wait on Nosihle to come back because of the sound issue that we're experiencing. I'm seeing your comments, Afezans. Hello, Sis Mosasa. Hi, Sissy. Oh, guys, so lovely to see you guys interacting with us as always. Hi, Sis Nail. Oh, hi, Yaya. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. It's so great and it's so comforting to know that you guys are also here listening into this wonderful conversation. We do apologize for the small break right now, but we're just wanting to fix the sound issue and just make sure that, we just have an audible live for you guys. But yeah, these things do happen. So we're not at all dismayed or discouraged. Don't worry. Virtual space things. So one day we're in, one day we're out, really. But thanks, Yaya. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, Abantu Book Festival. Hello. Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And eyesight, give it one. But thank you so much, guys, for your comments. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're just going to wait on Nosihle to come back. And we will just pick up where we left off. So don't leave. Hi, Sis Fuyo. Hi guys. Oh, okay. I think Nosihle is actually coming back now.
How is that now?
Happy Nutete.
Hello, everybody. How's the sound now?
I think it's really still the same. Oh no. I wonder. Okay, actually, you know what? It is what it is. We'll just have to.
Let's see. If it's still bad in the next 5 minutes, then I could try and log in with my laptop. Oh, it's bad.
Okay. Let's see. I think we'll try. It's not too bad. I'm looking at the comments again. I'm getting comments that it's not too bad. But let's see in the next 5 minutes, and I'll let you know again. Okay.
Now, almost says it's much better. So let's.
Oh, you can also see that. Okay.
Yeah, and so I guess I moved to.
Sorry about that.
I moved to the University of Cape Town in 2009, and then I did my undergraduate degree there. Originally registered for a BCom in philosophy, politics, and economics, and I went on to do my honors and my master's in politics. Started working for a bit, and then I got an opportunity to go and study abroad in Belgium and Beijing, and so I left and I went to do that. I think the sound is bad. Is it?
I don't know if I think can we disconnect the earphones again? Can you hear us
Hi.
now? Can you
I
also
can
hear
hear
us
you
better?
better.
You
I can
hear
hear
me
you better without the earphones.
without the earphones. Okay.
Oh man, sorry everybody.
It's okay. It's okay. The life of the virtual space.
So disheartening, sorry. Yeah, and so I guess from there onwards, Gezim, he moved and I went to live in China, which was such an exhilarating experience because everyone in China was just a curious being. Like, why do you go to China? Like, what are you looking for in your life at that time, right? But we went to study at Peking University, which is the best university in China, and just the opportunity to be there, given how competitive it is and like the size of Chinese population and how like most people can't access that space. And so I guess as a foreigner, it becomes a little bit easier for you. So that was a really incredible opportunity. And I came back and then I registered for my PhD. And I suppose that in summary, amidst all of this noise, is my long education journey.
Okay, wait, let me just. Okay. But Uti, you can hear me, guys, anyone?
I can hear you. I can still hear the crackling. I don't know how it is for everybody else, but it's bearable for me without the earphone.
Okay. So you as you know, and as we had told you, today's live was pretty much centered around World Education Day, or the International Day of Education. And we are all about educating the girl child and the impact that educating the girl child has in communities and just in the world at large. So we just wanted to get your opinion on what the impact that you think educating the girl child has in our community.
So I think that educating the girl child is primarily, I don't know, okay, we can talk about what it does to education, but I think both for humanity, it's about justice first, and it's about fairness, right? Because I think what education does, it gives you enough security that you can become independent, that you can become true and authentic to yourself, and that you can really become what you're meant to be in the world. And I think that in the absence of education, we become dependent, right? Rely on the resources of others, and in the past, that relying on resources has been on the resources of men, right? And I think what that does is that it imbalances power between men and women, and then it puts women in a place of vulnerability and insecurity, and it really hardens the edges of patriarchy, which means that women and children become unsafe in the absence of a girl child's education. And so I think that what educating the girl child is one about really bringing back the humanity of all man, women and men, because then suddenly we can one become who we want to be, and not because we are looking for a protection or a security, but also then it allows women to be leaders in society, right? It allows us to be equals because that's exactly what we are. And in the absence of that, we can be neglected and relegated to the sides. But also, I think what it does is that most of the time we use men's strength as an assumption of their intellectual capacity and their ability to be leaders. And I think in the presence of education, what it does is it gives us a voice, allows us to exercise our intellectual muscle, and ultimately it really allows the good of all society. I think we know that generally one of the highest ways in which you can break the cycle of poverty is by educating the girl child. There's a study that was done at UCT actually about the ways in which a maternal grandmother's social grant impacts the BMI and health and nutrition of the children at home versus the social grant of men, because more likely than not, right, a woman uses their finances to educate a community, to protect, to provide nutrition. And I think that basically is the security of all communities in general. So I think it is so primary, it is so necessary, both for humanity at large, but also for giving health and life to our communities and world in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what a mouthful! What a mouthful! I absolutely love what you said about uh, um, educating a woman means it's a guarantee that the woman is going to educate someone else, because that's just it never stops with women. It's whether
Yeah.
umntana walapha okanye umntana wakwenye family,
Mm.
or you know, it never stops. So
Yeah.
I absolutely would take on that as well. So I don't know if you heard me reading your bio earlier on, right before we started.
Say that again. Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know if you heard me reading your bio earlier on.
Yes, I did.
I was saying, we all know it's not all of us. We all know Sita, but yeah, never mind that. But like, education, Sita, education is so. The journey of education can be so difficult. It can be so difficult, and I think we can all be so inspired by you and take so much from your journey, because that undergrad is difficult. To go to honors is a whole other thing. Go to masters, that's a whole other thing, and then to go all the way to PhD. I think the main question that was just so common amongst our girls was just how. How does she get there? How does she do that? What keeps her? What keeps her disciplined? What is it? A passion thing? Must you really love it? What's going on? It was just to sum it up, it was just like, just ask her how.
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Like, I suppose this. Okay, I'll say the more motivational thing afterwards, but I'll be pragmatic about it at first, right? And I think the assumption is that it shouldn't be difficult, right? So we move into it and you assume that you should kind of just like, you know, move through it and slide through it. But I don't think that that's necessarily how it's supposed to be. And it being difficult is often an indicator to you that it's something that is worthwhile, that needs to be worked for, and something that means something in the world. So I think that's the first thing. And that's not to say that I haven't failed through my journey either, right? Like, I initially registered for a PhD at KU Leuven, and at some point I was like, hey, listen, I think we need to put this down because it's not working in the way that it is. And I needed to start my journey all over again when I got to the University of Pretoria. And that doesn't even mean that it became any easier when I started it again. So I think I just want to put that disclaimer there that it hasn't been easy at all. There were many times in my undergraduate years where I'd call my mom and call my best friend's mom, and she'd say, why don't you leave this degree and just change it to something easier for you, right? Like, and so now we're like, Nancy. Why don't you just, and you know, and you hear other people's stories, and so you take that in and you use that. And you use that as your own, like, yeah, maybe I should stop, right? So I want to just put that first, like that as a disclaimer that it has not been easy at all. But I think there's another side of it that I could use to motivate anybody that's thinking about their own education. I think one, staying hungry is really important. Two, curiosity matters, right? And three, a bit of foolishness. So it's not necessary to always be so aware of the weight of something, right? Like you kind of need to almost like put it aside that it's so heavy. Because I think once you sit on the fact that this is so hard, or this is so heavy, or this is so, you know, then it becomes really hard and almost becomes impossible for you to take it on. But that element of foolishness, of just being like, hey, you're registarisha, right? The registarisha. And if I don't know how to do this, I'm going to have a support network and I'm going to find the people in my class who know how to do this. So not being afraid to ask for help. I was sharing a story on my Instagram as I was doing my own reflection. I had a very good friend in varsity where would sit and say, I'll study half of this and now I'll study half and then I'll understand how to do this, right? And sometimes you get to the exam and you'd write the thing that she had taught you. And so I think finding the network of people that become your strength and your support and who sharpen you as you go. Because if you're also alone and you have no community of people, then you're more likely to wallow, but you also assume that you don't know anything. And so you give up eventually, right? But two, the labor of two is always better than one. So finding people that you can work with. Listen, in high school, my half-dad, he was very passionate about education. He'd call me professor from when I was young. And he'd say to me, you see what I said, right? Just stick to that Bukaneke, okay? Just stick to that Bukaneke. Ubukane was my friend, Nomza Ubukane. She was very smart, Nomza, and very hardworking. And just like he said, I would stick to that Bukani girl, right? And when we would get when we'd get our prizes in high school, she'd always be like first, and I'd be like within the top 5. That they would take us. She's kind of like cultivating this relationship. Yeah, there's going to be great benefit here, and take us out for ice cream and drinks, and then say, "No, and I don't want my daughter score from you. Just stick to that Bukane girl. So I think one, finding the right kind of community really matters. And I think sometimes even having a source of accountability. So people who you know you're doing this with as you go. Because I'd always come back and show my report home, first of all, and we'd look through it and it'd be like, what went wrong? And then I also think sometimes don't think it's so bad before you're done with it. Because sometimes I think there's an assumption that you've already failed from one test. And I think when you remember UCT, like everyone's just telling you about being excluded. So you're just so afraid of being excluded. You don't even know what the requirements are for you to be excluded, right? And there's a very low likelihood that you'll be excluded from one test. But it's multiple tests that make you fail. So if you have the right attitude from the first fail and you decide that that's not going to be the end of it, I might be able to do it better in the next one, keeping the right kind of energy and mindset really makes a difference. And having the kind of curiosity to say, look, where I find right, and don't be, you know what I mean? Don't sit in your own corner and wallow and think that you've already failed when there's other people who know how to do the very same thing that you're trying to figure out, you know? So I think those are the major three things: curiosity, foolishness, hunger, and a community of people that keep you accountable.
Absolutely. On that, your last point is making me think about the implications that the pandemic has had on just our education system and the way that education in our corner right now. You know, I think it's sort of, well, in the physical sense, really, it's taken away that community aspect of the way we are used to going about our education. You know, that whole meeting up after class or before class to discuss certain things, or meeting in classrooms to work on e-tests beforehand and stuff like that. So, as an educator now yourself, what do you think are some of the implications that we are not aware of, maybe as people? What are the implications that it has on our education system as a whole in the country? What are some of the effects have you noted as an educator on your learners?
Definitely. So, I mean, I think what this pandemic has done is really expose, right, like the social and material disparities amongst people. So it showcases if you have fiber at home versus if you have to go to an internet cafe to be able to access internet, right? If you are in a small space at home where it's difficult for you to study because everybody is here, there's noise, there's expectations of what you should be doing. But I also think the other thing, which I'm going to get into a little bit, is also the disparity actually for the girl child as well. I remember speaking to one student who said to me, listen, I try to sleep in the day so that I can wake up at night and work when everybody is asleep. And my mom then tells me to wake up because who's going to marry me? So then it's almost like this role performance returns, right? And so there's all sorts of disparities that have been highlighted by this particular pandemic, and we can never run away from that. And I think it's so important that we first acknowledge the structural challenges that arise as a result of this, and then to actually, in resource kinds of ways, decide how we are going to make up for that, and not necessarily plant those on students only and assume that they should just have the power or like the power and like the creativity to do it right, which is why I think it's been important for universities to provide laptops, right, to open up their universities for students to return. That matters. We can never assume that, I don't know, I just don't think that we should do this whole mind power that should overcome structural issues. I think it matters, but it's a secondary to it. So that, I think that's the first thing that I want to highlight. But I do think that there are new ways to find virtual community, right? So I am part of a writing group. Every single day at 5 o'clock, Ubaba Allah will tell everyone, hey guys, first session happening from 5 till 5:50. And people, all you need to do is write, hey, I'm in. There's another writing group that I'm in where people say the Zoom link for the writing session tonight is here. And people go onto the Zoom and you're working on your side, but you have that there, right? So I think there are new creative ways that we can start to find, right, on how we can work as communities, and we need to then be active in building those communities so that we can still succeed. Because I think that there is still opportunity for success in the areas that we're looking to succeed in, despite the pandemic, and we must find those ways. Otherwise, we will falter because our need to achieve hasn't changed because there's a pandemic, right? Like, in fact, it's exacerbated because you feel like, hey, like, what do I do? You know what I mean? So I think finding those kinds of communities where you can engage with other people actively and in fresh new ways, but still, you know, like, get your mindset in the right space so that you can do that well, and to find the support that you need as well, despite the challenges that we're in at the moment.
I love that you say that. I think part of the reason why we wanted to have the live namhlanje before was because it's before schools open, and we just wanted to encourage them, that as much as there's all these challenges, the strife, there, as long as Umdu is actually keen to find a way, to what's going on, then really anything is really so possible.
That's true.
So
That's
just as much as we're doing to the physical communities, there are definitely ways even now at the virtual community. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I like you saying that, Zimi. It reminds me of Maya Angelou speaks about the indomitability of the human spirit, like how inviolable it is, right? Like that even in pain you can still find moments of creativity and inspiration, and how like you'll have a really difficult night and you wake up and say to someone, "Good morning." That's how she says it, right? It's like, still I rise, despite the major hardships that we were facing at the time. It's been a difficult time, if we're being honest,
Absolutely. Am I frozen? Can you see me?
I can see you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think I was just experiencing a connectivity issue there. Sisigawanda. Honestly, we couldn't have thought of a better person to bring here today, because I think one of the many reasons why I love you being here today is that there's this education journey, which is, I don't want to, for the lack of a better word, it's what we're used to. That's the normal education journey, which is undergrad, and you go through your honors, and you go to your masters and go to your PhD. But there's also the creative side to you. You're using the resources that you found this side, and you're tapping into the creative side. And I think that's actually something that you love speaking about, creative living. And I bring in Wanda because you also co-authored a book alongside Umatabo. And what inspired you guys to do that? What inspired, especially the message? For people that have not read Wanda, you can just give us the message of Wanda, and why that message, and why that book, why to that audience? What was the significance of Wanda, and just what inspired you to write the book?
So let me tell you a little bit. When the idea of Wanda came about, initially my mom was looking to publish a book of poems. She'd written them in the 90s. I tried to get them published with Shutter and Shooter, but they'd never kind of worked. And so my mom is very determined. I think that's one of my sources of inspiration, right? And so in this one year, she was like, "Hey man, poems, I'm just publish your book," right? And so she came down to Cape Town, and I organized a full week trying to meet different authors, wanting to learn from them. How did they publish? How did they go about? And one of the people that we met at the time was a publisher from Jacana Media. And so I approached them, wanting to send my mother's story to them. And I said, "Hey, listen, what plans are you guys having in place, in particular for Black women, to help them publish?" And so they wrote back to us a couple of months later, and they're like, "Hey, listen, there's this children's book competition that you and your mom can enter." So that's kind of how it was established, trying to help her make her dream come true. That kind of door opened up to me and Umatabo. So when the story of Wanda came about, there's a line that I really like from a poem by Lewis Clark, and it says, "There are places like this everywhere, places that we enter as young girls from which we never return." And that line had struck me incredibly. And I say this because the first transcript of Wanda was a blog post that I'd written on Peter's Africrunch. And that blog post was called African Rapunzel. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I said to them, I'd submitted a picture of myself with a weave on, and I'd sent a picture for an audition in China. And when they called me, I'd taken the weave off, and I had my dreadlocks, and they were just starting, yours just like, it's just like this little snaky thing. They just don't look right. You know what I mean? Like, now he has born by I'm an right. I demand you must hide that thing. Like, I mean, no, you mustn't. So let me get that right. Let me get that message, make it consistent. And so I said to my friend, I just don't think that they're going to think I'm as beautiful with my natural hair. And then he replied and he said, that would be silly if they thought that, right? Like, and I remember in that moment thinking, I had never thought that I need somebody to say that to me. But clearly, this was a place that I had gone and hidden in as a young girl from which I had never returned, right? And so when Jacana came back to us and said, hey, listen, we are looking to for you and your mom to submit a transcript or a thing for this children's book competition, then I started to translate that particular blog post into a story, and then said to my friend Matabo, listen, I think that there's something that we can contribute together into making this a worthwhile story, which we did. And so I think that story really initially was to speak to the adult child, right, which is yourself as a young woman, and what you perceive beauty to be, and when you consider yourself beautiful, and the sense that you must be ready, right, like you must prepare, you must fix yourself to be right, you know? And I think that was really trying to like catch that message out, because it was like, no man, stop, you know, like this weight, this demand of beauty, the sense that you must be beautiful, and you haven't even defined what does it mean to be beautiful to you, right? Like outside of the standard or like the straight hair that you think that you should have. What does inner beauty look like, and how does it radiate outside? And so I think that was really like the sense of the message, and I just love that we've been able to translate it in the way that we did with Umatabo, so that young girls would really find a sense of confidence and pride both in their culture and their self.
Absolutely. And is that something that you find important as as an educated young Black woman? Is it something, did it come by chance, or is it something that you find important to maybe like contribute to you know, through your writing or
Yeah. I mean, I think I think this is my belief on writing. I think writing is often our only lasting legacy, right? Like, I mean, that's a very large way of putting it. But I think that the thing about writing is that you can't alter what the message says, right? If I've said to you, this is how, let's say something like, your beauty comes from within. Nobody can like change or alter that message. There's no broken telephone when it comes to it, right? It becomes an archive that exists that anybody 100 years from now can open, and it's still exactly that same message, right? And so I sincerely believe that writing is such power. I think it's so important that our parents write to us and they leave us a sense of like who we are, where we come from. I also think it really affirms identity, like the existence of that written work really affirms identity. There's a book that I absolutely love that was written by a grandmother from East London. The name of the book is called Can I Have This Dance? And at the end of it, she's written a family constitution of what her family believes in, right? And she's like, in our family, we'll become global, right? Like we are global. So she's written this whole thing about what their values are. And she passed away a long time ago. And I think of that family, I think, you know what, like there is no question about what her grandmother wished for them. When they open that book and they see that written piece, they understand exactly what that contribution, what her will was, what her vision was. And so I think that writing is important. I think all of us should be writing. I mean, I'm not saying like everyone needs to be trying to publish, but everybody should be writing to leave a mark of what their message is. What are you saying, right? And I think the other beautiful thing is that it clarifies your thoughts, right? You're not muddled when you write. You write something and you'll say A, B, C, D. And when you read it, you know what you were thinking. And I think also that writing gives you a clear sense of honesty. You don't have to edit what you're writing. Sometimes when you're speaking, like, so this is right? But when you sit down and you're writing alone, it's earnest, it's sincere. If you're not editing yourself as you're writing, it's the truth of who you are. And I think that matters. You even the answer.
That's exactly what we want. That is exactly what we want. Actually, I'm thinking there's so many TDW girls that are going to be so happy about this conversation. I can think of a number of them right now that have either an interest in writing or e-journalism and so on. And it's really cool to have someone to speak to them as well. Create side and to just get them excited about it. And as you actually speak, I'm also thinking about like how representation-wise, how awesome representation. You know, I was thinking as I was preparing as well that in our time, I don't know who wrote Josie Smith. There used to be Ingwadi about Josie Smith, this little girl that used to love wearing Wellington. I'm sure if people they'll remember her. But in my time, that was the in thing. If you weren't reading Josie Smith, then I don't know what you were doing. That was the So I'm just thinking, I think the author that Josie Moore wrote, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm thinking it's so cool. We were in grade 3, grade 4 around that time. And I'm just thinking it's so cool how namhlanje a grade 3 child can literally pick up one in the library, or whatever book you guys write. I think that's really, really nice, because what it does to the thought process, man, the ability, the fact that you can pick up a book by Asihle Nonjokweni and Amathabu Tlali. I don't think as much as I love the many authors that I've read in Wachizabo, I don't think it allows for that train of thought engqondweni yomntana when they're young to just be reading Ega Rods, Oganye, so on and so forth. But when you see Asihle on there, you're just like, hey, wait, she wrote. But then, versus just picking up a book by so-and-so from overseas, and you're thinking, oh, this person is probably so rich, sitting in their big house overseas. I'm just reading their book. But then when it's Asihle or Matabo, it's like, hey,
yeah.
they wrote.
Zivi, I'm gonna log out. I think there's a sound issue. Let me get out and come back in. I think there's a sound issue. Yeah, Diva.
Okay. Yeah, over. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. Again, Usihle is just going to log back in because of the sound. The sound is trying to fight us, but we are here. It doesn't matter. So she's just going to come back in again. Inspiring Gopa. Oh, this is Pumla Numalodini. So thank you so much, Cece. She says there in the comments, inspiring girl power. Thank you so much, guys. We love it when you interact with us. Actually, while Usihle is out, I'm thinking we should, if you guys are for it and you guys are keen, we'd totally love to open up some questions to you guys. Really, Usihle is such a well of wisdom, and she's don't be afraid to, yes, Sis Musa, don't be afraid to ask. Sis Musa's in the comments reiterating what I'm saying to you guys, especially our girls, our TGW girls. Please come through and ask questions. We'll write them down for you guys, and then we can maybe in the last few minutes of the live give it over to Usihle, and she can answer some of your questions. I'm sure she would totally love to. So if you have any questions, thanks for the advice. See, hi Zola, we're glad you're finding some advice today. We're so glad. So yeah, just send through some questions, and we'll also send them to Usihle, and she will just answer them for you guys. Are you back?
I'm back with more lights.
Yes. We're glad to hear that. I was just telling everyone, sound or no sound, we're going through.
Sound or no sound, yes, you want to sound, man.
No sound. Even if there's a ballet, if you have to. I'm kidding. We were just speaking, but I was just saying to everyone, if you don't mind, that at the end of our live, if you could just answer a couple of questions about that there.
Happy to do that. I'm happy to do that.
We'll just write them down on the screen, and we'll just write them down for you. Who was born in now, and then you can answer.
Okay.
And maybe last 10 minutes or so.
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
Okay. So since you're not Bali, well,
what a
woman! Yeah, what a week! Imagine, it was so exciting for us. How exciting is it for you? Like, you were literally excited. We're just like, some of us were just, you are World Read Aloud, and we're just like, I mean, probably like, what is World Read Aloud? We're just like, we're going. Sitla's in, so we're going.
Lord, that's you.
So many people, like, as you're
Oh,
What is
what is this?
We'll find out later. Let's but it's really what an amazing, amazing opportunity, and really, what a big
It- Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for your support. I consider you to be like the benchmark of what it looks like to be a girl's girl, like such an inspiration on how to support other women alike. And I think you do it so consistently. You've done it for so long. Like I'm sure like it's in your DNA at this point. Like your children will have this particular like like this genetic makeup. And I just think you do it so well and it's so incredible. So thank you, Gokadazi. It was such an incredible and spectacular week. I absolutely love doing it. It's literally like, like when you are in alignment with yourself, like when you're doing what you are here to do and you can feel like the wind and breath of God and his enjoyment and delight in what you're doing. That's exactly what it felt like for me. I absolutely, and I mean, I think this is something that's worth sharing with more women. It's being able to partner up with the right kinds of institutions for your vision, but also then later on being able to build the kinds of institutions that you want to see in the world. And I think when we are able to do that, it allows for the breadth of the work that you can do to expand, right? Because it's not like I wasn't able to write a story prior to that. It's not like I wasn't able to like do some of that, but because you are partnered with the right kind of like powerhouse or power structure, it allows your own voice to come alive and then people can see, which then opens other potential opportunities, right? Can you hear me, Zimi?
I can hear you. It's just it's disappearing a little bit into the just behind the crackling. But I can hear you.
Hi, Zimi, can you hear me?
Yes, Susie, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So yeah, so I mean, I think that's what that was. So I think this incredible opportunity to partner with the right kind of institution and finding that kind of support to be able to really share a message that you want to give to all children. My favorite thing about this story, which is actually something that I've wanted to say to you for a long time, but anyway, we'll talk about it another time. One of the things that happens in the story, right, is this little boy called Africa. He wants to be a pilot, but he's never been on an airplane before. And his friend Josh has been on an airplane before. And then he finds out that Josh also wants to be a pilot, right? So then he starts to think, if Josh has been on an airplane and also wants to be a pilot, then it might mean that I couldn't be that. And his grandmother says in the story, you can both have the same dream. And I think that's something that is so powerful and so important because I'll speak for myself and I think something that I see in a lot of women, when you are with people that you have shared dreams with, when one person goes for something, the assumption is that then it's theirs, right? Like, so they have full hold over what they are doing. And so they should push that. And so you will stand as a support role. And then you put your own dream aside in the pursuit of supporting your friend or your cousin or your sister or another woman, right? And there's always this idea that humility is not wanting. And I thought that was such an important message for all children in particular, to say you can both have the same dream, right? And to have people that remind you of that. And as I was sharing on my own education journey on my Instagram today, I went and I started reading some messages. And when I was looking to go to One Young World, which was a couple of years ago, 2012, my one friend got the funding first, and so now my thing of trying to get funding kind of like, I was like on the second, like it was secondary now. We're just like, okay, she's heading out, we will figure this thing out. And I got a message from my friend Utemi. She said, this is both your dream, right? And I think that's something that's so important, to really take a hold of your dream, and the fact that you gravitate towards people who share a similar interest, the same liking as you, is because you have that dream, right? And so to allow both your lights to flame it up and not to decide to step aside, which is, I think, is tempting, and presumed or seen as being humble or friendly or a good friend, and I don't think that's true. So I think that's kind of what the story was about. I really like it. I really, really like the message of the story, and it's spoken so much to me, and I'm hoping that it can really speak to the hearts of children at large.
Oh yes, absolutely. I definitely know it spoke to me. It definitely did. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but very faintly. Let me put my earphones on.
Okay.
Speak to me again.
So besides the stories that we have read and the stories that we have heard about, do you plan to write in the future some more?
I can't seem to hear you, Zim.
You can't hear me.
Look, I'll go out and come in quickly. Like, I'll literally be back in the next second. I don't know.
Okay, so I think in the meantime we can just get the questions for Usihle, so that we don't have to so that Nai Afika says when she comes back. So just keep the questions coming in the comment section. As soon as you type them through, we see them. Do not worry. So yeah, we're just going to write them down for her, and then she can just get answering as soon as she comes back. But in the meantime, guys, wow, what a woman. What a woman. There's so many themes that she's touching on, so many important conversations that she's bringing up as we're sitting here. You know, I absolutely appreciate the fact that, you know, we came here to speak about education mostly, and there's so many important themes that are coming up here, and I'm so glad for our girls that we had this session actually. I think it's... You're back?
I'm back!
Back with a bang.
Back with a bang. Back.
Never left.
So yeah, I was just telling everyone, I'm so glad you're here, because, you know, we came here to speak primarily on education, but I'm thinking there's so many themes and so many important conversations that are just coming up as Iteta. And I really appreciate that. So really, I think to give you time to answer questions if we have any, I was just wanting to ask you about future projects, if you are willing to tell us. If you don't mind, the questions for you,
future projects. I mean, first of all, one that is being turned into a series, so it's not one book. We're basically growing it into a larger project, so people can expect book 2 this year. There's a beautiful website that we're developing and really trying to make it a full e-commerce site that can become an immersive experience for parents to find the right kind of resources for their children's cognitive development. And so that's really the vision, being able to expand the resources that can really build a child's sense of confidence and identity. And I think you can expect a lot more on that particular area of work. Yeah, so I think that's what I'll speak about. Yeah.
We'll take that. We'll just keep it to your pages. Don't get tired of us. We'll just be there. You know. So we already have a question for you. I'm not sure if we won't let up his screen now, but I'll just can you see it?
Yeah. What were the challenges that you experienced during your high school and varsity journey, and how did you overcome them? I'm not laughing because I'm laughing at the question. I'm laughing because I think most of the challenges that people usually experience in varsity is like, high school is... I don't... Okay, maybe I'm not answering the question correctly, but I think that what saved me from a lot of usual teenage and early 20s kinds of challenges were the type of company that I had and the kinds of friends that I had and the kinds of choices that I made. So when I was in high school, and this is not to say this to all girls, like people shouldn't date, or, you know, like, I mean, there's usually that kind of risk. That's not the point. But in high school, my friend and I had determined that we wouldn't date up until matric. So in high school, I just didn't have that kind of influence. And that kind of spanned through right up until varsity, up until I was like 24, 25. And I think that saved me from a lot of like some of the challenges that I would have ordinarily experienced. I think a challenge that I may have had that I could definitely speak to is seeing your confidence erode, right? I think when you experience difficulties, especially in university, for instance, like like you don't know how to do this, right? Like you don't feel like you're adequately prepared for your degree. Having this, like your negative self-talk, like the really nasty things that you say to yourself about your abilities, your capacity, the fact that other people know how to do this and you don't know how to do this. And the worst thing is that in high school, I had dropped maths because I wanted to. I wrote some random test in grade 11 or something, and what about Johnny a test? You have maths lead. What about Johnny a test? You have maths lead. I didn't even mind at the time because I didn't from the drama. Like I was like, I sugar, whatever. And then then we got to varsity, and I got a full scholarship to go study economics, right? So now I'm in a commerce degree that is stats, that is math, that is full on like mathematical, and I feel like I'm catching up to everybody else, right? Like, and my one fully theory, and just get numbers needs and so in your mind, then you start to form your own kind of like conversation about like what is possible for you or what you are capable of, and then you set a ceiling around what you can achieve, right? And I think that's so dangerous because that ceiling hardens and it has edges over it, and you start to believe it, and then you stay under its constraint and its limitations, and you don't move beyond that. And so I think for me, that was a real challenge for a long time. And I think there's several things that have really helped with that. I think it's important to renew your mind about what you're capable of doing. That's really important. That takes a lot of work, affirmations, therapy, the advocate therapy. But like finding like a new message to yourself. Like I think you must constantly check the dialogue that you have with yourself, what you understand, what you believe is possible for you, what you esteem other people to be capable of versus yourself, and having a deep sense of confidence and belief in yourself is really important. I think that may have been one of like the hardest challenges that I definitely experienced in varsity, but overcame eventually because and like I'm just like but no, I'm who I got on like you know, like just like overturn that talk, you know, like overturn it. It's like oh my God. And there's a line that I used to love for a long time. It's like, if not you, then who, right? And if not now, then when? And so don't suspend this possibility for yourself and give it to other people, because what, like we're all made in God's image and likeness. Like there is nothing that my Andrew says this thing. I love my Andrew, by the way. She says nothing human is alien to me, right? Like whatever is seen, whatever seed exists in another human being also exists in me. So if I see excellence, that seed exists in me. But also in the same humility, when you see the denigrating kind of things that people can do, equally you could be capable of that, right? So it's what seeds that you're really willing to harness and water for your own journey. Kubani ukutisteba yapo zivi. Kubani ukutisteba yapo, kubani challenge yapo.
You wouldn't know. I'm multitasking. I'm in between the hour live and trying to read these questions on our platforms. So I have a laptop next to me, and then I have you. So I'm trying to read you the questions. It's Nabonakali here as well.
John, and then you challenge ya mama much magvali festival. Mama, I'm in an interview. I'll close them when the curtain is just now. I'll close them just now. I'm good, Mom, but I'm in an interview.
Oh, you know, Mama, we just need a few more minutes as Valley Festival. We're gonna close. Okay, so here's another question for you.
I think so. Now there's challenges.
So we have another question for you on the screen from Lisa.
Yeah. So I think for that, right, depending on your parents' income, right, currently in South Africa, what fee-free education did, don't see challenges. Depending on your parents' income level, if your parents earn together a salary that's less than 350,000 rand, then automatically in the present South African context, you qualify for NSFAS funding. Né? So as long as you meet the requirements to enter into university, then I think you are more likely than not capable of being able to like have that kind of national funding. And I think most people should really gun for that and make sure that they apply for NSFAS perhaps just in time. So I think that's the one way. I think a lot of study abroad funding usually comes in your postgraduate studies. That was my experience. I haven't really sought a lot around like undergraduate studies, but I think if you do well enough, usually with an average of around 70 upwards in your undergraduate years, then it becomes easier for you to apply for funding abroad. So I think those two things, but also matching your educational experience with the kinds of signals, that's what I call them, the kinds of signals that show your capacity or what you're able to do. So leadership kind of experiences, different kinds of stories. And I think university shouldn't just be like an academic experience, but it's this holistic, well-rounded opportunity for growth. And if you can find those growth opportunities, then you're able to really signal your value in the economic kind of sense, and that can catapult you towards being able to access those experiences.
So, if there aren't any more questions, oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's a serious question. How would you advise girls to balance life so as to overcome anxiety and depression? That's a serious one. Let me take some time to think about that. I mean, I think there's two parts to it, right? Like if we're talking about it as a medical or chronic kind of anxiety and depression, then I think for that, then like that requires a particular type of medical attention. And I think it's important that people seek that kind of medical attention and they find counselors. There's the South African Depression Line. A lot of schools and universities have counselors that students or adults at large can access. And so I think it matters to access professional kind of support. But I also think that there's also the type of anxiety that is rooted in experiences, right? Like, so maybe this happened to me when I was young, and so every time this happens, my anxiety peaks. I was talking about so I mean, I think those are two varying experiences, and I think they both need different types of attention. But I also think it matters to find the root of some of your issues, right? And to be able to make peace with them. And I was sharing on my Instagram the other day that I was listening to a talk where they were talking about your adult rationality and your adult emotional capacity. That like when something happens between me and you, Zimi, at an emotional level, let's say you don't pick up my phone, or I said if you never pick up my phone. Maybe like something happens between me and you, right? I can explain it rationally with an adult mind, right? So I'll be like, Uzi, Nova busy. Okay, maybe Uzim doesn't want to talk to me right now, and maybe that's okay, right? So you can explain it with both your emotional and your rational kind of mind. But usually when you're a child, you only understand things from an emotional kind of aspect, and your adult rationality hasn't caught up yet. You can't explain things. So if Uzim doesn't pick up my phone or doesn't speak to me, I assume that maybe my sense of worth, or I'm not good enough, right? Or I'm not picked in the group because of my own inadequacy. And so it matters that even as an adult, that you help or reparent almost or heal that rationality that pinned those kinds of pains to yourself as a child, because those experiences weren't necessarily about you, but you could have held on to them and you use them to hold yourself down and to hold yourself hostage to an idea of yourself that could be completely incongruent with what God says of you or what the truth is about yourself. And I think that can be a deep source of anxiety and depression as well, right? And so I think those two of those experiences, really healing as an adult really matters, but also getting the right kind of professional help if it is a medical type of condition.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? I have just.
Hi May. I hope you're well. Maybe you could say in the comments what kind of help or support that you would be looking for from me, so that I can assess whether or not I'd be able to commit to something of that nature and how I could be of help, if I'd be of value at all. So maybe if you could just clarify or let me know what it is you would need support of from me, and then we can determine or chat from there on. I like that question. From Bessie! Messy's my friend. In which areas of themselves do you think girls should emphasize in order to have the confidence needed in their abilities? In which areas do you think that they should? So, I mean, I think they vary, right? So, one, I think, is an identity type of confidence. So, it matters to know where you come from, who you are, right? And what you're capable of doing. So Miles Monroe says that the 5 questions that the human is always asking themselves: 1, who am I? 2, where do I come from? 3, where am I going? And 4, what am I able to do, right? And so I think having the sense of clarity about those key questions around identity truly matters. And where there are no answers, to seek them and be clear enough about them in such a way that they don't debalance your life or shift your sense of self in the world or cause you to question yourself every time that you meet other people who have those answers for themselves. So I think that really matters. But I also think that a sense of confidence in what you're saying matters, right? That when you have an opinion, to trust it enough that you can contend with other people and you don't assume that other people have the answers and that you don't. I think it matters to have a clear sense of what you think. And I think that's why reading matters, actually, and being affirmed at home matters, because it matters to clarify, how do I see this? What do I think about this? And to have a serenity or peace about it, so that you're not waiting for the counsel of others. My mom always says, don't outsource your decision making. You can just be like, in fact, or in fact, I want a purple lipstick. And it's okay if other people say that's not okay, because that's what I feel like doing today. And so I think that sense of confidence in yourself and in your opinion of yourself, and having a strong sense of self-image through self-awareness, that really, really matters. I think there's varying things that really stem that in a child. I think a spiritual sense of identity matters. I also think a sense of where you come from in terms of your family. I think culture matters, and language, sometimes being able to speak your language. I think all of those things come together in really fortifying a young girl and a young boy's sense of confidence. And also not to depend on how you know what I mean? Like, the first time you realize you're beautiful is not when somebody in the street says it. You know what I mean? Like, and whether uchilo or not, when, you know what I mean? And ndiyazithanda and andilindela uthando lwakho uze ndiziqonde uba ndiyathandeka. So I think ndiyayibona Nkosi, ndiyabulele. God, and so that sense of like, you don't need somebody else to always validate or verify what you are. And I think it matters that a girl has that sense of confidence, so that they don't become weak and almost like fall short with predatory behavior, which can easily happen when you don't have that strong sense of confidence.
Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. Do we have another one?
Okay.
Okay. If we do not have another one, just for the sake of time, I think I'd maybe encourage anyone that has any questions, specific to your journey or specific to their journey, that they think that you could assist schools, or that maybe they could inbox you on your platforms. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please.
Okay. So everyone, just for the sake of time, honestly, and the challenges, we're trying to mitigate their challenges because we're not meet halfway right now.
Challenges, yes, we Spanish.
So thank you so much, Sike, for coming through. We really appreciate it. I absolutely enjoyed the session. I think I may have enjoyed it more than the girls even. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed this.
You've spoken over so many parts of our and so many aspects of our lives, and you really were speaking to our TPW audience. You were speaking to me, and I'm sure you were speaking to someone else to make it part of the team, our friends. Honestly, thank you so much. You are woman. I'm pretty sure I've told you this before at some point, but you're such a wise woman. You are such a well-rounded person. It's so
thank you.
So inspiring. It's so inspiring, and you really just open our eyes. You open our eyes. You freshen our perspectives. You know, you make us want to reach for more. You know, you
Oh,
make us want to be more just as people, character-wise.
thank
So thank you so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so much for
Lily.
coming through. We love you.
Bye bye. Oh, I love you guys too.
We're going to continue supporting your work. Just let us know what to do.
Thank you.
We'll
When I will tell you what to do, you just girl 101. In fact, actually, that's what you should release for us all. Can you give us girl guide 101? I feel like that's not because I'm looking at the title.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that.
Work on that. Okay, so thank you so much. Bye.
Woo, guys, what a session. I don't even know what to call it. I don't know if that was just a session. You know, what a time. What a time. What a woman. I'm so grateful to have had Usihle Apanati today. If you maybe caught it in the middle, please do. I encourage you to start it from Ekbaleni. We will save it and we'll put it up on our platforms for you guys. This is just one of those sessions where you can't help but go back and revisit what was said and just sit on it and just ponder on it and so on. I'm so glad for you guys, TGW girls, that we had Usihle namhlanje. I may be glad for me, but I'm more glad for you guys, and I'm so glad that you guys got the opportunity to see her, to hear her right before you guys open schools. See, we love you. See, we love you guys. But really couldn't have thought of a better person to open up our year for us and our year for you as you guys go back to school. So before we go, we do have a couple of announcements for you guys. So I'm not sure if you guys saw our post recently about us looking for mentors and peers. So we've opened up another part of TGW. We are a growing family, and you are most welcome to join our family. We'd love for you to join our family. So if you would like to be a mentor at TGW, please go onto our page. You will find a post up and a link for you to apply if we as Wondomana you meet that criteria. And if you would like to, you have it in your heart to work with young girls, and you would like to assist us, because we find that as we grow, there's only so much that we can do for young girls that earns certain fields. There's only so many expertise that we can give, amongst maybe 6 people, 5 people handling certain things, but so we think that it would be so great to have people that can specifically deal with the girls. If one of our girls has a question regarding IT, if a girl has a question regarding science, as vast science is, whatever scientific question that they may have, that we already have someone on standby for them. So we'd really appreciate if you guys would like to join our family and like to be part of us. Please do go onto our page, find the poster. There's a link there for you. There is an online form for you to fill out, and we will get back to you guys on the steps and the process and so on. So after that, after the mentors get selected, we'd also like to have peers that we have at various schools in different communities that can sort of serve as representatives for our TGW, the brand, the organization, however you may want to refer to it, so that we always have information that is accurate, information that is on time at our schools, obviously because we see that we are growing. So if you would like to be a peer, and this is open to now our high school pupils, if you'd like to be a peer rather, and you'd like to join our family as well, you are most welcome. Come through. You can just DM us, inbox us, and let us know that you'd like to be part of that, and we will inform you of the process thereon after. The third announcement, If you follow our pages, you should have seen we have an Alan Gray entrepreneurship post up, and that is open to, it's an opportunity for our pupils as well, our high school pupils. It's an entrepreneurship challenge competition for our business entrepreneurs in high school. If you guys would like to actually just, whether you want to or not, just do it, guys. Really, there's no harm in trying. There's really no harm in trying. It's for your own benefit. We just had to see here now speaking on taking chances and just going for things, whether you have the funding or not. So if there couldn't have been a better conversation to precede what we are talking about right now, just take the chance. Enter the competition. It's an entrepreneurship competition. You register, and then the process from there on. If you'd like to know more information, or you need assistance from us to register you, we are more than willing. Please just DM us again if you would like that assistance. Tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, we will confirm on our pages if we don't, but tomorrow we should have someone from Alan Gray speaking on the competition, and to just further reiterate what we're saying and give you guys more information on the competition, how to enter, what is required, and so on and so forth. So please do stay glued and stay tuned to our pages to find out more information on this. And our February calendar is packed as always. We've got so much in store for you guys. We've got a Valentine's Day situation. We've got a love day. I think we're calling it True Love. We'll let you guys know further details on that as well. We've got a vision board session coming up next week. We're not going to let you guys start the year without a vision board. If you're a TGW girl, you already know this. You already know we're not starting the year and not knowing where we're going. We're starting the year with direction. We're starting the year focused, ready and setting ourselves up to win. So again, just stay tuned to our pages. We're going to give you guys further information, probably starting from tomorrow or in the beginning of, as soon as the week begins, next week, Monday. We'll give you guys, we'll just offload all the information onto you guys, and you will just see where you start yourself in. And yeah, so we have a vision board session coming up. We have a love day coming up. We also have a virtual run. Wellness Girls, hello. We have a virtual run coming up as well. And we're trying to incorporate all sorts of things for our girls this year. We got you. We got you guys. So we're going to obviously want to incorporate fitness as well into our various aspects of TGW this year. So come through, keep your eyes peeled on the page. And last but not least, do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not. Like our pages if you have not. Follow on Instagram if you have not, and just interact with us. These are the few things that we have, or maybe not few, but these are the things that we have so far for you guys. But if you are maybe wanting to see certain things from us, certain content from us, you want us to speak on a certain topic more, that you maybe have in your heart, or something that you need more clarity on, let us know. We are here for you. The organization is here for you. TGW is here for you. So if you just want to, anything you need, really, just let us know, and we'll see how we can incorporate it for you guys into our calendar. So yeah, we've kept you guys here long enough. We promised you guys an hour, and somehow we are overboard. That's what happens when you're having fun, really. It is what it is. But I'm pretty sure that you guys had as much fun as I had today, and you loved the session. Well, I hope you did. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. And till next time being next week, once again, just keep tuned, keep your eyes peeled onto our pages so that you just know what is coming up next. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week on our next session. From me, good night and God bless. Bye. Something I didn't like to tell.